Well, as you can see, I'm starting this video off in a different location. It's not in my garage. And there's a reason for that. The lighting is also poor because I'm going to show you what we're going to be dealing with on this turntable. Now, history on this turntable, I bought this turntable probably 5 years ago. It was during my early days of getting into the vinyl, or well, it was vinyl records and those types of things, but when I got into picking up pieces of equipment to repair and restore and all that kind of stuff. So this ran good for about 10 records. And then it started getting kind of squirrely. Bought it off of eBay, bought it as a parts unit, and I remember that the description said that the seller thought it needed a new motor, but they didn't disclose anything else. They just said, hey, I think this needs a new motor, and I thought, oh, I know what I'm doing. I'll sort that out. Well, I did a bunch of things to it. Cosmetically, I re-veneered it. This was the first like 100% re-veneer, and I did not do a very good job. So part of this project might be me removing my crappy veneer job and re-veneering it. In fact, I'm leaning really heavily towards doing that and doing it the right way according to, 5 years of experience doing this type of thing later on. So I may do that. I didn't do a horrible job, but it's not a great job. If you look at the strobe, and let me see if I can zoom in on the strobe, look at the stability. Now, you might say, well, just go in and clean the pots. I have cleaned the pots 50 times. Well, clean the 2 variable resistors on the motor. I've cleaned the 2 variable resistors on the motor 50 times. Well, just recap it. I have recapped the power supply. I have recapped everything that has a capacitor, including the motor that's in here. I have recapped it. And I'll come back to the motor in a second. So I've recapped the motor. I've recapped the power supply. I've replaced all of the lights for the sensors. I've replaced every single switch in this. Every switch is brand new. The motor that's in this particular unit uses an integrated circuit. There are about, I think, maybe 8 capacitors, maybe 10 capacitors. I've replaced all of those. I've replaced diodes. I've replaced Zeners in here. I've replaced every single transistor. I basically redid everything that the person that sold this did, because as I was going through it, I found that, oh, hey, someone's already been in here and they've replaced this Zener. They've replaced this transistor. They've replaced this capacitor. But I did it all anyway. And we have a speed stability issue where, number one, it will not keep constant speed. It'll run good for 30 minutes, and then it starts to get really goofy. Now, if I turn this off, this is the other thing it will do. Well, now it's starting up, but usually what will happen is it will either sit there and not move, or it will turn backwards sometimes, right? So it'll stay steady for a little bit, and then probably in the next, see, it's starting right now. I had to let this run for about 30 minutes before it started doing the weird speed stability thing. And the pots don't do anything. I mean, I can kind of, if I move the 33 pitch control, you'll see it kind of jump a little bit, right? But it doesn't really, it won't maintain constant speed. So the only thing left to do on this thing, in my opinion, is to replace the motor. I have found a replacement motor. Now, I'll flash up because it's escaping me right now. I think CEC, they made the turntable, but they also made the motor, or it's a Matsushita motor, and it's like a Mark II or a Mark III. I'll flash up whatever it is. But those motors were used not only in Marantz's, but they were used in Realistics, they were used in Yamahas, they were used in Pioneers, they were used in Technics turntables. So what I did was I found not a Marantz motor, because heaven forbid if it has a Marantz sticker on it, that motor's worth like $200. I found the same motor, or what I'm hoping will work in here, from a Technics SL-2000. So what I'll be doing is I'll be transplanting that motor into the unit, and I'm going to capture that on video, and then we're going to see if that sorts it out. If that does not sort it out, I may recap that motor, because that's the motor that doesn't have the integrated circuit. I'm hoping I can swap it in here. I don't know that I can swap it in here, because every single thread that I've read about swapping or interchangeability of the motors, no one has known. So I'm like going into this a little bit blind. So I'm going to swap the new motor in here, and then we're going to see if it works. All the other functions on this work. So see where it doesn't want to start. So if I bring the tone arm out, and if I put it on auto and I hit down, so there it's going down. If I hit up, right, so it'll play and do its thing, and then it'll hit the run out, and it will raise the tone arm like it's supposed to, and it will shut itself off. So all the other functions are 100% on this thing. It's just that speed stability issue. So I'm going to pick the video up with me putting this on my workbench, flipping it over. We're going to swap the motor out, and then we're going to see what happens. If that works, I've got to let it run for a long time to see if it works. Then we'll get into what we're going to do if we're going to re-veneer this. But I think this deserves to be re-veneered. When I got this, it was all chewed up. But I think it deserves to be re-veneered and re-veneered in the right way. So let's move to the bench and see what we can figure out. All right, so here's the Marantz on the bench. Now, one thing I want to point out is that if you're looking for a motor, number one, as I mentioned, this has been like a work in progress for several years, and I just could not bring myself to pay more than I had to on a Marantz motor. Now, Marantz put two different motor types in these from what I understand. One of the ways that you can tell which motor you have is to look at this top plate. Let me zoom in just a little bit here. So this top cap, or this top, I guess it's more of a cap, this top cap for the motor will either have an opening, or it will basically just have an opening for the spindle only. So it's going to be all black and it's going to cover that. So you'll either have this 1-inch-ish opening, or you're just going to have an opening for the spindle. And I also believe that the spindle height, the height is going to be different. So you want to be aware of which motor you need. Somewhere on the motor, and I'm going to look when I pull the old motor out, you should see a label on it somewhere. So it's Matsushita MKL-15, and then there are different letters. This is an SIT, so I would imagine since this came out of a Technics, the T is for Technics. Again, I have no idea if this is going to work. We're going to find out together if this was a good idea or not. What I'm going to do first, however, is flip this over, and we're going to remove, well, first we're going to make sure we have the same color cables. And I think we do, or at least I think it might be close to where we can figure it out. So it appears as though on the old motor we have brown, orange, red, and black. Here we have brown, orange, red, black, and yellow. Oh, and we have yellow also. So it looks like yellow is going to 45. I'm going to write this down real quick because it is early in the morning. So yellow goes to 45. Orange goes to 33. Red goes to, that is the, I think that's the power switch. No. Red goes to, I don't know what switch that is. Oh, red goes to, what is that? Red goes to the down. So red goes to down. Brown goes to speed. Brown goes to speed. All right. And this shouldn't be all that difficult to remove. I think these, I don't know if these light blue ties are Marantz. These little zip ties are Marantz or not. So we'll remove that one. This other one is loose enough to where I can just kind of run it underneath there. Alright, so it's kind of interesting. This little sleeve here. Alright, so what I'm going to do is remove this motor. I'm going to remove the wires first, and then we'll pop it out the top. You can see, maybe it's not super clear, but you can see here where I have replaced all of these caps. I used to do a better job of marking the caps when I put them in. So all of these caps have been replaced, all of the transistors have been replaced, the Zener has been replaced, some diodes here have been replaced. Yeah, so basically, I mean, I don't know what else there is. All of these switches have been replaced, so I'm hoping it's the motor. It's got to be the motor. I don't know. So anyway, let me get on to removing all of these, and I may just cut the wires because they're wrapped. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. We'll find out together. So let me see if I can zoom in here a little bit better. Get you a tighter shot on what I will be doing. Alright, so that wasn't too difficult. And these actually have nuts on the end of these bolts, so I may have to turn it on its side to pull this old motor out. And again, I've recapped this motor as well. If I think of it, I will show you what that looks like. You know, these are okay turntables. I was really hot to trot to get one of these, and then I got one, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And then as I have worked on so many different types of turntables, I am no longer all that impressed with these. They're beautiful turntables. I mean, they're gorgeous turntables, but CEC, right? CEC. Alright, we have some washers, and if I remember correctly, I think it's all single washers. Alright. One washer fell down underneath here. I want to see if I can find it. Yep, there it is. You can see where my veneer job was not very clean right there. So this motor, it's not marked. So it's just got a part number PM2330030, and that's 18 volts. This one might be 12. Oh, I think it's 18. Well, we're gonna find out. Then the way you access all of the parts underneath is there are actually clips that hold this in. The capacitors, you can see one of the caps that I replaced there. You have to remove, right, all of the solder connectors there, and then you can access the board and recap it. So we're gonna see what happens next. Now this one, I believe, if I remove this cover here, and if this works, I am probably going to recap this motor. I'm not going to do it initially though, because if it doesn't work, then I will have wasted time recapping this motor. But I just want to look at this real quick and see. I believe since this is the smaller motor, this may also have an integrated circuit. That should pop off. Yeah, nope, this is... Yep, this has an integrated circuit as well. And again, I'm not going to recap it because I don't know if this is going to work or not. And if it works, great. Problem is, I've got to let it run for a while. So if I throw this in and it starts up right away and the speed is steady on it, what I will need to do is run it in the office for a while. And see if it gets kind of weird. Now this has a sticker over the adjusted, or a sticker that says adjusted over the 33 and 45 variable resistors for further adjustment. I'm going to remove that at some point. Alright, so let's do this. Let's get this in here. Should go in like so. And it should fit. It should fit. Is it going to fit? Oh yeah. So there it goes. I know my head's probably in the way. Alright, well, I think you know what I'm going to do here. So let's move on to reassembly, installing the new motor. And I figure the very first test is going to be, does it even spin? Or does it just sit there and do nothing? All right. Alright, I think I got everything wired in there correctly. Oh, ouch, just dropped it on my foot. Moment of truth. The thrill of victory or the agony of defeat? Which one will it be? So power is off. Right now it is on auto. I'm going to turn that off, put it to manual. Plug it in. So we're going to have an explosion, or is it going to work? Let's see. Power. And it's spinning. And it's started right up. Now the motor definitely needs to be adjusted. So let's put it to auto. Power on, down. And it started right up. Well, that is all very promising. And then up, turns it off. Alright. So, as I mentioned, I'm going to remove that little tiny sticker, that adjusted sticker, off the bottom of the motor. And I'm probably just going to leave that off. You know, the issue with this turntable is it's so tall that you cannot get... Well, let me clean these pots first. And again, I will recap this motor, assuming it runs well. I'm just cleaning the 33 and the 45 variable resistor underneath to make sure these are clean, because these will also cause speed stability issues. One thing about the other motor was that it would very rarely start up on its own. So that's an initial, an initial very good sign. And so what you do with that is, right, these knobs, I try to center them. So what I do is I just kind of twist, kind of figure out where center is going to be, right? So it's about a 3/4 of a turn, right? So I'll do about like that. Same thing with 45. I'll turn it about like that. That should get it center-ish. And then I'm going to put it back to manual. Plug it in, turn the power on. And what I'll do is, because there's no good way to elevate this turntable safely to get my non-conductive screwdriver underneath there, I'm just going to kind of flip it up, you know, back and forth and see if I can get the speed dialed in. So yeah, it's way fast. So let me turn that. I'm going to start by turning it counterclockwise, about 1/4 of a turn. And it is slowing it down. So I'm just going to continue kind of going through this adjustment procedure until I get that speed dialed in. Now, once I recap it, I'll have to do that again. And that's, I think, slowed it down too much. So I'm just going to do that for now. And then, to me, it looks like it's okay. So I'll put the bottom on, and then I will test. And I'll run it every day for the next couple of weeks. And then once I'm comfortable that that motor works, if it works, then I will pull the motor back out and recap it. And I'll take you through that. And then we'll talk about whether or not I'm going to re-veneer this thing. I really need to, because the veneer job is absolutely horrible on this. I just don't know how easily the veneer I put on is going to come off, because I used contact cement. It should come off, but so anyway, we'll pick it up in the next segment. Hopefully this thing works well for the next couple of weeks. Alright, so here's where we are with the Marantz 6300. The motor seems to be fine. However, let me, oh, where's the old motor at? I put the old motor around here somewhere. Oh! When I pulled the old motor, you know, I keep a kind of a medical record, right, for long-term projects like this. And I had written down on the medical record, I thought that I had replaced the 1 microfarad tantalum cap in here, but I had not. So I'm wondering if this old motor will actually work. So what I did is I replaced the tantalum cap, and there's also a teardrop cap on the motor board. So I'm going to try this old one just to see if that actually resolved the issue. Now, I only spent like 40 bucks on this motor, so it's not like I'm out a ton of money. This one seemed to work fine. So I'm pretty comfortable with this motor. I have not recapped it though, and that is one thing that I am going to do. However, there are a couple of additional issues that I need to address on this turntable. Number one, I have ordered veneer. It's a 2-ply wood veneer that I'm going to put on the plinth. So I'm going to remove my crappy veneer job. At least that's my plan, and do it right this time. And this was one of the earlier ones that I've done. So I kind of give myself a little bit of grace for not knowing what the heck I was doing. This had a hum, and I forgot about the hum that this had. It always had this low level hum. So I kind of cut the hum down by grounding one of the Tonearm wires to this this plate right here. And that cut it down, but it never completely got rid of it. When I was looking for the source of the hum, let me show you what's going on. I got to remove this anyway for what I'm about to do. I found that the black ground wire that attaches to the Tonearm wand was broken here, and the person who had worked on this before, I know you can't see this. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit here. I'm going to have to move the turntable. But right here is just a little piece of wire that was attached to the black Tonearm ground. I don't know if that was the source of the hum or not, but that's not how you fix that. So what I'm going to do, because I'm going to be re-veneering the plinth, I'm going to have to remove the Tonearm anyway. I'm going to do that today, right now. Oops, let me zoom out. I'm going to do that today, right now. And I want to see if I can figure out where that black Tonearm wire, where on the underside it's attached, or on the inside it's attached to the Tonearm wand. Hopefully it's in a spot where I can get to it and I can put a new piece of Tonearm wire there. I always keep remnants of Tonearm wire. So I think I have a piece that I can put in there. Hopefully, that's what I'm hoping. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to remove the Tonearm wire, see if I can figure that out, run a new ground. I'm going to have to remove the Tonearm wires from the muting switch. And just so I know, looks like we have, it's a horrible thing to point with. Looks like we have red here on the top, we have white here on the top, and then we have their grounds underneath. So I should be able to remove all of those. I did replace the Tonearm wires, thinking there may have been an issue with the Tonearm wires. I don't like the Tonearm wires I put on here. They're too thick. So I am planning on replacing those with some smaller Tonearm wires as well. So, but anyway, all this stuff has to come out of the bottom. So I'm going to have to remove everything anyway. So for right now, for this segment, I'm going to speed through removing the Tonearm wires, and then removing the Tonearm to see if I can figure that out. And it is cold in my garage. This has been sitting in my house overnight. The turntable has, so I should be able to remove these without too much of an issue. And I'm just going to remove both the Tonearm wires. And I'm not opposed to replacing all of the Tonearm wires, because again, it appears to me that the person who worked on this, they just weren't real careful. And I'm not the most careful, meticulous person, but they, I don't know, some of the work here that they may have done looks just, it's just a little shoddy. Not horrible. I've done worse. If I can do this without burning myself, jeez. It's a tough spot there. But like, they left a lot of old wire remnants and things like that on just about everything, so. All right. And I'm going to leave that one attached just because I don't want to remove it. Okay, so I think I'm going to have to remove the nut from the... Oh, there. That might be too big to get in there. I need to remove the nut holding the Tonearm in. And this also holds that panel, right, that will kind of trip that optical sensor, the light sensor. and they used some paint on here to hold that in position, so I want to remove that. It's kind of sticky, and it's just cold enough to where my fingers don't want to work. It's the only bad thing about, well, there's a lot of bad things about winter in the Midwest. Like, if you work in your garage, you know, your space heater, your heaters are only going to get it so warm. So, and it was 39 degrees. I think it might be maybe 43, 44 right now. So I'm going to continue taking this apart. I'm going to pull the tone arm out, and then I'll come back and we'll see if we can identify where that black wire might be connected inside the wand. Alright, I found something interesting here. I want to make a note of it. So there are these 3 screws right here that are holding the tone arm base, right? Holding it in position. There's a black ground wire, and the black ground wire is grounding itself. So I am thinking that the person that did the work on this previously, and again, that wasn't anything that I did, the person that worked on this previously probably they've created a ground loop, because, and let me show you if I can pull this off, because it's not really connected to anything. They have a ground going to itself. I don't understand what that is. So I am thinking that may be part of the problem. So now this tone arm should, if I release the clasp, it should drop down. Nope, looks like there might be one additional. Let me zoom out. Sorry. Oh, I have to remove the tone arm guide. And then we could take a look at the tone arm wand. So this tone arm guide, looks like I can slide that up out of there. Man, that's got to be the smallest. There we go. So now if I remove this, I should be able to slide this out. And I needed to get to the 2 screws underneath this wand. And I'm going to do this on top of this plinth because I'm going to be re-veneering it. You know, any other time I would mistakenly grab one of my Phillips. And these look to be, oh man, these are, there we go. So I should only have to remove these 2 screws. And then the tone arm wand should slide out. And my hope is that I can reattach a new ground wire. Looks like it's like way back in there. Oh no, it's not. So what there is there's a copper clip. Probably can't, well, you can't see it. Let me see if I can zoom in and show you. So if we look down inside the tube, see that copper clip? So I need to pull that clip out. There's a little tiny ridge though that I'm gonna have to finagle with one of my dental picks. Gosh, it's so cold. Might be a little too cold for this today. Oh. I was like, where the heck did it go? Right, so here is, right, the little clip with the Tonearm wire. So that should be pretty easy to replace. Again, these other Tonearm wires I think are okay. I could very easily replace them. I've already pulled the head off by removing this screw, and it just pops right out of there. It's almost a thing where if I'm this far, I might as well just remove all the Tonearm wires. Oh, and I didn't, that was not very smart. So I'm gonna have to take this whole assembly apart to feed the wires back through there. Unless I run, yeah, I'm gonna have to do that. So dang, I wasn't even thinking. So you can see I've already made notes anticipating I would be rewiring the Tonearm. You know, I'm going to do it right. I'm going to rewire the Tonearm. Going to just rewire the whole Tonearm. Got a little bit of time yet this morning to do that. And what this does is it pops out just like this. Like so. And then I can run new Tonearm wires. So I'm gonna do that. Now this is not very exciting, right? I'm not gonna film this, but I'm just gonna tack on new Tonearm wires, feed it through the wand, reassemble the wand. Then I'm gonna have to disassemble, right? The Tonearm block, which is good. I need to clean this anyway. Disassemble this Tonearm block. I may come back and do that though. May come back and do that on camera after I have attached the Tonearm wires. So let me jump on that and I'll be back in a few. All right, so it's been several weeks. And I need to explain to you where we are in this process. So I did replace the tantalum and the little teardrop cap on the other motor, and no difference. So I did install it into the turntable, and it's doing the same thing. So we're going to go ahead and recap this motor. I do have a confession to make. So it has been incredibly cold here, and for the last 2 or 3 weeks I have not been able to work in my garage. This is the first week where I'm able to do that, and all that means is what I did was I chose to re-veneer the turntable inside, and I'm really not set up to record what I'm doing inside the house. So I did not record that. I'll explain to you what I did though when I when I install the motor into the plinth, and then, you know, we kind of look to see what's going on with it. Yeah, I should be able to get this. So, where was I? Where was I headed? What was I talking about? What was I thinking about? Yeah, I don't remember. So anyway, I re-veneered the plinth, took advantage of being inside. Again, I can't really put my camera up inside there. So, I'll cover what I did. But right now what I'm going to do is replace these capacitors on this motor. And then we'll throw this motor in and give the turntable a whirl. So this one is a different motor. So the other motor you had to, there's some pins that you actually have to desolder. On this one, it's just unscrew it, and then you can access all of these caps. Now, if you see, these are all axial caps. I should be able to use radial. I should be able to use radial caps for these and just bend the wires, because that's what I did on the other one. So it looks like I need 4.7 25s. I'll do these three. I'll do whatever this is. This is a 47. This is a, I don't know, 1. And then this one here might be tricky. That's 100. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to speed through it. And I'm just walking over to grab the caps. There's 47. I got some 47s. I got a 1. And I got 100 here somewhere. I know this is incredibly exciting to watch me do. So anyway, got all my caps I'm going to be using. So I'm going to speed through replacing all this stuff, and then we will give it a whirl and cross our fingers and hope that it works. Alright, so that wasn't too bad. And that motor is spinning just perfectly fine. So, but if I were to service that, which I probably will, and let's just look at that right now. Take this apart while it's out. It'll be easier to do it this way. Remove these 3 screws from the black plastic cap. And then, alright, remove the cap. Pull this out. Right, you want to be careful. You don't want to be real careless when you do this. Wipe this down. Right. A little bit of old oil in there. And then cotton swab with some alcohol. And then we'll re-lube it. It is a little chilly in my garage, so excuse my sniffling. It's a whopping 49 degrees in here today, which is much warmer than it was. We had negative 15 for a little bit. It's pretty dang cold. And then I like to use real butter, just because I have it. So we'll drop a few drops down there. And then we'll coat this with a little bit. Not going to go crazy. And I don't want to get oil on anything else. And it sinks down. And done. Pretty easy on this. Now you don't have to remove the motor to do this. Naturally, you can do this with the motor installed in the plinth, which I'm going to go on to next. So I'm going to do that off camera, I believe. That's my plan anyway. because I just don't want to waste the memory on installing this motor. And then we'll come back and turn it on and see what the heck is going to happen. So I'll be right back. All right, so here's the plinth, the newly re-veneered plinth. Excuse me, I need to adjust my mic real quick, sorry. All right, so here's what's going on with the new plinth. Much cleaner. This was a pain in the butt to do. I did not record it, as I mentioned, because it's been so cold. I used a 2-ply wood-backed veneer. I thought the edges would come out, or these corners would come out a little bit cleaner, and they did for the most part. I got some chip out down here, and I don't know what happened, so I'm gonna have to try to fix that. The nice thing is this is just a piece of veneer, so I could just peel that whole piece off if I wanted to. But this is the moment of truth. Let's see if this turntable works. Now, one thing I did not do is check clearance for the new motor, but that looks like it is not rubbing, so that is good. Plug it in. Let's turn it on. Right now it's on manual, so let's put it on auto. I want to make sure my buttons. Now I also have to adjust the pickup point, because I had to disassemble the tone arm and work on that. Oh, and by the way, replacing the tone arm wires on this was really easy. I have not connected the tone arm wires. I still need to do that. It looks like I need to, yeah, that's not right. So I need to fix that. But anyway, let's see what happens with the motor. So power on. Oh, here we go. Speed is good. Powered itself off. Now let's go down again. Ah, and it kicked right up. Yes, 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 yes. That is awesome. And speed was really good on this when I was running it inside. I just let it run for like 3 hours, and it was dead on. So now I'll go to 45. I know you can't see the speed, but I think 45 is good. Nice. So go back to 33. As you can see, I've got some stuff I've got to finish up here, but man, that is awesome. That is great. That is great. So what do I have left to do? First, let's see if I can figure this little thing out here. Number one, this is a little bit crooked. Let's see if I can turn that. Here we go. And then this actually goes, I don't know, I may have to disassemble. And I'm probably going to have to either take this off, which I think will be easier, or I have to disassemble the tone arm, and I don't want to have to do that. So let's see here if I can. Well, could I get a bigger, fatter screwdriver? I think I can just unscrew this. This is the anti-skate weight. Yeah, I can just pop this off. So that is good. So I've got a little bit of. So for those that don't know, this is how the anti-skate works on the 6300. Right, this. So I'll have to realign this, but how this works is like so. Right, so this flips back and forth, right, and there's your weight adjustment. You just slide it back and forth along that post, and that's how that thing works. Man, this is awesome. This is awesome, 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 awesome. So got, again, a couple things I gotta kind of clean up on this. I have to attach the tone arm wires. That's basically just the reverse of what I filmed before, what I recorded before, so I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on that. I'm not going to record it. I do need to attach the plate here. Looks like I've got this little plate here I didn't put in all the way. There we go. Yeah, so man, this is awesome. Again, this has not worked right for years and years and years, and I've just never really dedicated the time to do it. So it is great that this is good with the new motor. Man, and that's steady with the new caps. That's just like steady, like rock solid right there in 33 1/3, not really drifting at all. So great. Okay, so I'm gonna wrap up Tonearm wires. What I may do though is come back and talk about that hum issue, because I still may have a little bit to do regarding sorting out the hum. I do have to start my day, so I will have to come back to this tomorrow. And then I've got to do some cable management cleanup underneath here as well. All right, but here are the new Tonearm wires. They're just sitting here loose. There's this ground wire. Actually, I was looking at someone else's image online, and this ground wire attaches to, I think, well, I'll have to look at the image that I found, but I think the ground wire, going from memory, goes to the Tonearm plate, the Tonearm wire plate, and then there's a black wire that's supposed to come down here and attach to the ground point on the power supply. So I'm hoping I can get that sorted out. I need to do a little bit of cable management here with a tie or something like that. Oh, I actually have a clip I got to put there. But anyway, I'm gonna clean this up, and then when I come back, again, unless the hum thing is something I've got to work through, I got to tighten that motor down a little bit. I will just kind of come back to the finished result and confirm that everything is working. All right, here she is in all of her glory. I got the hum sorted out, and there was basically no ground. The ground that had been looped into itself by the person who worked on this before, it just wasn't grounded properly. That's about all I can say. I mean, and it was several different connections were not present, so there's no more hum. And let me show you this. I've adjusted it to pick up the end of the record. Hopefully it doesn't make a liar out of me. There it goes. There it goes. Stop. Pick up. Perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. All right, so it's slowing down and stopping. I may have to tweak that just a little bit. But speed is dead on. There's no more hum. I replaced the veneer. I've got a few just really very minor things that I have to do to finish this up. But I can finally, after having this for, again, 4 or 5 years, I had Chick-fil-A for lunch. Having had this for 4 or 5 years, I can finally call the Marantz 6300 done, and I can enjoy it. I will do a gear review on this, and I will explain to you why this is not the greatest turntable. Although these command a crazy amount of money, right? But these are not very good turntables, to be honest with you. And what did I do with this now? Oh, it's in there. Didn't feel like those were in, but they're in. So this is actually a J&B Audio aftermarket dust cover. And I'm going to do a gear review on this one just to talk about the 6300. And to be honest with you, it's going to be more of a what to look out for if you're thinking about picking one of these up. For those that are curious, if I didn't mention it, this is running a Grado 8MZ. People like to ask me what I'm running on my turntables from time to time. That's what this one is running. I do have the Marantz 45 adapter. Let me zoom in just a little bit here. That I will be putting on this, but I got to tighten up one screw on the bottom cover, and I want to put these little dampers on it. So to recap what I did, and again, this was a long time coming. Picked up this turntable. The person that sold it on eBay said that it needed a new motor. I refused to believe that. And despite me doing just about anything and everything except replacing the motor, right? All of my efforts were failures because it actually did need a new motor. A new motor is what fixed the problems. Yeah, I did. I think I mentioned I did put the other motor in, and there was no difference at all. The old motor that I had recapped and replaced the tantalum cap and stuff, that did not fix the problem. But man, this is I'm so glad to be done with this for now. I'll show you the RCA cables I put on it. These are just some cables I snagged and split them in half. Kind of, they're not fancy cables by any stretch of the imagination, but they're a little bit nicer than just some random, you know, RCA cables. I do need to get some little Velcro ties and, you know, kind of tie those together. I do need to add just a little bit of an extension. What I have been doing lately, because this wire is really stiff, I've got some easier to use wire that I will solder onto that so I can extend the ground wire to the end of the RCA cables. But yeah, it's done. I'm so happy. So happy. I just, been a long time. So I'm going to plug this in and listen to this thing, and hopefully I'm not bitching about it, you know, in a couple of weeks because it stopped working. Again, if you want to know if you want to have an idea of what I did or how I did the Re-Veneer, watch the Pioneer PL530 Re-Veneer video. You know, conceptually, that's all I did. Naturally, execution on this was a little bit different because you do have to cut this channel, right? You have to cut this channel. So what it is these are two different pieces of veneer, naturally. So, you know, you've got to trim these two pieces of veneer. And the problem is that channel is so shallow that I couldn't get my router bit down there, so I actually had to straight edge both pieces of veneer here and then butt it up against there and then sand this down to where it was flush. And I got it just about perfect. Before, I was not close. There were issues with how I had it before. So, and then I do have that little tiny piece of chip out that's down in this corner. Again, the nice thing is this is one piece. I could actually just kind of cut that off halfway across the bottom, and I have all of the pieces that I used, so any of the excess that I trimmed, so I could actually come pretty close to continuing the grain pattern, even though, I mean, it's kind of silly to even think that I would need to because, right, I mean, there's this big gap here, so I could almost get away with putting anything there, but there's a continuation of this kind of dark streak here that goes up that, you know, unless I point it out, you probably wouldn't even know. So that's it for the Marantz 6300. Again, I'll be doing a gear review on this. Beautiful turntable. Not the greatest, but these are gorgeous. These are just gorgeous turntables. So, as always, if you like what you see, like, hit subscribe, and I will catch you in the next video.